Hey guys, Pedro here to let you know about the latest from Sarcator, Swarming Angels and Flies, out January 17th on Century Media Records. The album has 11 tracks, 51 minutes in length, and this is the band's third full-length studio album. They are a Swedish blackened thrash metal band. Now, the actual record comes out with 8 songs, but there is a bonus edition with 3 extra tracks, all of them covers, an Anti Cimex, a Sarcófago, and a Sadus cover. As far as the design of the record goes, the album is very concise but very fluid and very driven. Now, when you have an album with these kind of characteristics, you normally end up with a very linear record, and that's exactly what you have here. There are a few nuances within this album, specifically the way songs get introduced, but I don't feel like that's enough to take away from the overall sensation, from the overall perception that the album gives you, which is a sensation of linearity all the way through. No ups, no downs, just a straight line from start all the way to the end. Now, this doesn't mean that the album becomes repetitive, because I don't feel like this is a repetitive sounding album. What does it create is a sense of length. It makes the album feel longer than what it actually is. As far as the sound is concerned, this is a very dark sounding record, but it's also a very raw sounding record. So when I started my review, I said that they are a blackened thrash metal band. I think this record kind of changes that paradigm a little bit, perhaps even more than just a little bit. I feel like this is more a black metal album with some thrash metal riffs included in it, and even some melodic black metal elements as well. So this is quite a change of paradigm for the band. The production on this record also enhances that more black metal experience. Like I said, it's a very raw sounding album, and that very raw sounding album experience adds to the overall darkness and definitely the black metal influences that the band has had throughout their discography. So this is an album that takes you a little bit deeper into the dark hole. It still has a lot of great sounding riffs. It still has a lot of thrash metal influences into the way the songs are composed, into the way the songs are played, into the way the songs are delivered to the audience. But you have to expect a much darker album, an album that has a lot more of a sinister attitude to it, and it's not just about having catchy melodies or catchy riffs. Those are still there, but they almost fell to a secondary role compared to the overall perception that this record offers, with that more raw and heavy hitting dark production that the album puts forward, almost reminding me from a production standpoint, reminding me to Hell Awaits from Slayer. Has that throwback approach feel to it. It's more visceral from that standpoint, and I think that adds a different kind of aggression, not only darkness, but a different kind of aggression to the way they can present their sound. Still a very guitar focused record. I love the guitar sound throughout. The album is definitely one of the main, if not the main ingredient as far as the sound is concerned, because they were able to mix in with that overall darkness, with that overall raw production that the album has. They've been able to mix in some great thrashy riffs that definitely add speed, add heaviness, and add drive to the sound. But they also infused some more melodic black metal elements to the melodies of the guitars that gives the record a little bit more texture, and it doesn't allow the album to be very one-dimensional, which would have been something that would have hurt this record considering the overall production that it has. Now, on the drum side, I felt like the drums took a secondary role to what the guitars are doing. This is an album that is so focused on the guitar sound, on the essence of the guitar sound, on the atmosphere of the guitars, on the darkness, on the melody, on the riffs, on the drive, that the drums kind of fall behind the guitars, giving the overall sound some substance, but not enough to allow them to have a more predominant role. Really pushing the guitars even more to the forefront, making them even more a centerpiece of what the overall soundscape is, and giving them the exact pedestal that they need for an album with these kind of characteristics. I felt like the guitars could have still been exactly where they are, with the drums packing a little bit more heaviness, but the way it sits right now, it suits this album, it suits the production, and it gives the right emphasis to the right elements. Now, as far as the vocals are concerned, super consistent. I mean, if there's one element of darkness with this band from the first record to the third record, it's always been the vocal delivery has a lot of black metal in it. It's very blackened in its essence, in its texture, in the way that it comes across, in the way that impacts the songs, in the way that impacts the lyrical content, and how that lyrical content is presented to the audience. So this album, from that standpoint, stays very close to home, doesn't really change that much, and it stays consistent throughout the entire album, always being very dark, always being very blackened, always bringing darkness to the forefront, and really adding another level to the experience that this record is all about. And like I said, to begin this album, or to begin the review of the sound of this album, this is definitely more of a black metal record than it is a thrash metal record. So I feel like the band kind of reversed the polarity of where they were to where they are. They went perhaps from being a more blackened thrash metal band to being a more thrashy black metal band, if that makes sense. So I really like this change, because I feel, for the characteristics of the band, for the style of singing that they have, this sound, this more raw sound with more emphasis on black metal, really suits them well. It gives them the right level of eeriness, the right level of darkness, and it takes them perhaps into an area where they can really carve a place for themselves. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with Burning Choir, a black metal track through and through. Some punk influences in this song for sure, and you see that in terms of how the song is driven, on how the song really pushes forward, the impact that the guitars have in pushing the song forward. Very driven, very fluid, very dark guitar sound from the get-go. The vocals add to that experience with their own sense of blackness to it, and then you have the overall sound just really carry the vocals through, and allowing the two to kind of blend with one another to create that more experience that really resonates with the listener. Now, the drums help this song with some of the size of the track, but this song is not really about width. It's about drive and push, and that it has a ton of it because of how those guitars come through. Next, we have the Deep Ends. This song has a great opening riff, and I love that it has a more thrashier sound opening riff that has some rawness to it, and it kind of lingers through. Also, the way the solos come up right early in the song, but then using that same style of soloing to create a little bit of a tapestry, to create a little bit of layers, to create a little bit of texture to how this song sounds, definitely adds different layers and different perspectives to how impactful the guitars are on a song like this. When you listen to this album, it might sound very simple. It has a very simple output in terms of how you process it. But when you look at a song like The Deep Ends and you see at the layers of the guitars and all the different experiences and all the different sounds that they're giving you, you start to realize that this album is a lot more complex. It just has a sense of simplicity over it. This song is a perfect example of what I'm saying. It's a very consistent song, very balanced song vocally. That doesn't change that much. This is really about showcasing all the textures and all the different elements that the guitars can provide together on a single track, and still give you that raw experience and that narrow experience of being a very hard-hitting song with that blackness surrounding it. Last but definitely not least, the Undercurrent. This is more of a melodic black metal song. Less thrashier, more melodic black metal through and through. It has these moments of madness within the song that allows the track to feel like it's expanding and then it's contracting. It's expanding and it's contracting. It has this lateral movement. This is a song that is not as much about the drive or the push forward, but rather how much lateral movement it can create, how much it can expand and how much it can contract. It has a very sinister undertone, but I think that is a result of the more melodic side of the guitar sound on a song that is as blackened as this one is. So those two kind of have that attribute, or one results in the other. And then it's a song that vocally feels a lot more like a narrator telling a story than just going along for the ride and trying to fit a delivery that matches the overall tempo of the song. Because this song is not as much about that drive. You're able to have the same sort of delivery, but just change it in terms of how you present it. And that change gives that more storytelling approach to a song that has that incredible undertone of being sinister, of being almost evil to a certain degree. And I think that's an important aspect of what this song creates around itself. This is it, Sarcator with Swarming Angels and Flies, out January 17th on Century Media Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, guys.